Welcome to our signing day special for the Davenport football team. One of the most exciting days of the year when all the work that the coaches have put in the off season and even during the season, making contacts with potential high school signees and transfers from other colleges. It all comes together now, an exciting thing. I'm Rick Berkey, the head coach. Sparky McEwen is here. We're going to talk about the players that have committed to play for the Panthers in the upcoming season and beyond. And it's an exciting time, Coach. I know it's you get your staff out there on the road before the towels are dried from that final game.
You know, it's that type of year where we talk about off season, and now we say what off season. With this transfer portal and things like that, it's truly changed the game, Rick. And I'm excited today for this class. And I was talking with a couple of the coaches yesterday, and this is a different class for us. Okay, and we'll get into more details, but we're extremely happy with what we've done, and couldn't be more proud of my staff and the work that they put in to this point.
Just looking at the numbers here, Coach, it seems pretty consistent what you've had the last couple of years, like twice as many high school signees as mid-year transfers. And that's, I know you don't have a specific formula, but you've said before that's kind of the direction you want to keep your program going.
We have to. We're in a very tough conference, and, last year we had our best year when it comes to winning percentage-wise since I've been here at DU, and, there's a standard here, and we want to continue that standard of, being competitive and competing for championships. And we've had the opportunity to play in two GLIAC championship games and didn't fare well in both those things. But it tells me that, when you come down to the last couple ball games and you're really in the mix in the ring season, it tells me we're doing things the right way. So there's no reason to change, that formula for us. And but at the end of the day for us, when it comes to our transfers, those are guys that's got to bridge the gap, of gentlemen that departs, our program, whether it be exhaustion of eligibility or, graduation or whatever. And if our other kids aren't prepared or ready, for that player development piece to step in. So that's when we dip into that transfer portal and we bring guys that could fit the Davenport way.
All right, let's get into those transfers right away, who I understand are all in classes right now, and so they're registered in that. We're going to go alphabetical order. William Berry, a defensive lineman from Joliet, Illinois, by way of Northern State University.
So excited for him. Here's a young man that due to graduation and losing a couple guys on our interior defensive line, we need to bolster that defensive line with someone that is similar to G. Peck. As you know, he's a first-team performer at, inside D tackle for us, and getting another body like his inside was very important.
Wide receiver that you're really excited about, Northwestern Missouri State University transfer from Shawnee, Kansas, Peyton Carter.
Going in, when you start losing receivers, Brown. We lost a very good, football player in Brown. He was an all-GLIAC performer, and we felt like we were able to go into the portal and fill that position once again with a young man coming from a decorated program like Northwest Missouri. Getting him in, he brings more size, to the perimeter like Preston Smith. And we've always said that we want to match, another player with the size and speed of a Preston Smith. And, as you know, Preston Smith has an NFL grade. And going out to get someone that could take off some of those stresses off of Preston, because like last year, once we have a guy that's really rolling, they're able to roll coverage to him. So now we think we have an answer on the other side, opposite of Preston.
You've got a couple kids on here that were local kids, but went on to MIAA football to start. And one of them that you've signed, Jacob Fetro, from Allendale by way of Adrian College.
Once again, here we go. You have a young man that we watched and we evaluated as a high school football player we actually liked. So he goes off to one of the D3 schools, and, they did a great job, in player development, and he got better. And next thing you know, he goes in the portal, and we evaluate the tape, and we're like, wow, he's made a definite growth spurt, and it'll give him a great opportunity to come here and give us a chance to win.
You mentioned getting that depth built up on the offensive line, and you got some beef coming here. 6'6", 345-pounder. Samuel Garcia from Elizabeth City State University.
Was truly concerned going into this 24 season with our depth and also the loss of so many significant role players for us on our offensive line. That's where we lost a lot of players. And this young man here I've been extremely pleased with, and he's every bit of that 6'6", 345, moves extremely well for us. So, we lost Trent Allen to an FBS football team, and now we have to go into the portal and find someone that could potentially replace him, in that O-line position. And he's a lot bigger than Trent, but my hopes now is that he's as tough as Trent.
Jalen Gibson comes to you from Trine University by way of Toledo, Ohio. 6'1", 235 doesn't overwhelm you with his size. How do you see him on their line?
He'll overwhelm you with his speed. We're talking about someone that can play inside and he can play outside. But, when I think of Jamon, you think of someone that's extremely tough, okay? He's got some God-given talents, man, and he's powerful. His speed to bull is great. He's able to bend, the edge well for us. So I think that we have a nice piece there that we can add with the other guys that we have returning. You had some openings in the defensive backfield, and Cameron Grothouse from Lake Erie College had a terrific career there before joining your program now. Well, Amir is here, with us, and Amir was his defensive coordinator over there. That's right. And once he went into the portal, he actually was one of the best players that Amir coached over there. And Amir spoke very highly of this young man, and he's here now. And I'm so glad that we have him on our side. And here's a guy now that not only can he play DB, but he could double down as a linebacker. So he could play in the box for us. He's a little heavier, but a good athlete, a great leader. He's already got here and he's gelled with the guys, so I'm very excited about that. You've had some great success, Coach, from Wayne State University in our own conference, and you continue that with linebacker Brian Hill out of Dayton, Ohio. Brian, I tell you what, he was one of the favorites. This guy's coming here. What a class act. Okay, he's a grad transfer. He's done a tremendous job. And here's one now, when you take a look at his size, I remember playing against him a couple years ago, and he's a lot like Cam. He's a guy that can play on your back end, but also we're possibly going to move him to the box. So when you look at a guy of that size, and you're able to put him in your box with that length, you could do some pretty good things against some of these better playing perimeter teams that we go against. Coach, you mentioned he's a grad student. When you're looking at these transfers here, and you're trying to fill a specific need by position-wise, how do you balance that with this guy is a little better than this guy, but this guy you only can get for one more year, like a grad student, but this guy here is a little bit below him, but you'll have him for 2 or more years. How do you balance that? That's a great question, because that's part of going into this portal and looking at if we have a guy that's a transfer and he has 3 years left versus 2, or even a grad transfer with 1 year left. Now, all of a sudden, you got to think about the other piece of that. It's a grad student versus a guy that's an undergraduate student, so there's some cost differences there as well, okay? And then another thing that plays a part of this is, how are my youngsters doing? Are they developing at a great rate? If they are, we may need a guy for 1 year. Okay, if they're not, we may need a guy for 2 years. So there's a certain type of style, how you're going to have to pursue guys, in the portal. You just can't go in there and grab guys. They got to fit your culture here, number one, and then number two, where are you at with your young people? Okay. Are they player development to the point where they're ready to play, or do we have to go in the portal and find someone that's ready to roll right now? Back to the offensive line, Samuel Lofton, a 6'1", 280-pound lineman from Notre Dame College in Ohio. We lost our center. So it was important for us to go and get a center, and this guy was a starter at Notre Dame. Very good year, for them. That's a really good football program. And here's a young man also, once again, that's a grad transfer. And, he wanted to put himself in. He wanted to play, with the elite guys in the GLIAC. So it was great for us. So going in, getting a performer that's a starter at a really good school, that guys get coached up there, I think he'll be a really good fit for us. Well, the next name on here, if you're a football fan in the state of Michigan and you follow a local high school, it's a name you're going to know right away, because this young man not only had a fabulous high school career from the east side of the state, but was signed by the University of Georgia, 2 years down there, started a game or two down there for the Bulldogs. Then he had some serious, significant health issues, but he's back healthy.
Matthys, the quarterback who went to Temple University after Georgia, and you got him in here right now.
Amazing young man. The team, he's one of the team favorites. He gets here and, he's one of the boys, and but outside of that, very talented young man. And, he's back to the state of Michigan. He was a 4-star coming out of the state of Michigan. He signed with Georgia. He ended up going over to Temple from there. And, it's an opportunity. He looked at this as an opportunity. He's got a lot of friends, back here in the state of Michigan. He's got a few friends that's on the roster. And, I talked to him, and he just wanted to have an opportunity to come in and compete. He says, I want to compete. And he knew that when we're going to bring in a couple quarterbacks. We actually had a guy that we'll talk about here shortly that we ended up signing. And having my conversation with him, it was such a joy. And you would think that a young man as a 4-star and, playing at the University of Georgia, there are certain demands that they come with. No, not this guy here. Class act, excited about the team culture. He already loves what we're doing here. And he's got a bright future with us. And, we'll see once he gets going and competing and see where things shake out.
Oak Park is a school that you've had a great connection with. You've had some terrific players from them, and you've been good for them. They've been good for you. Did that help at all in the recruitment, do you think, that your Oak Park connection?
The head coach over there is an amazing man. He's a Hall of Famer. And, we've had players that's, Brian was a first-team All-American here. He went there. And, we've had some DBs that we've done really well at Oak Park. I think that always plays a part when those kids are here and they have success, on our football team, and they see that back at the local high schools and the local guys in the community and the coaches. And so then when opportunity comes to go and recruit those kids in their buildings, they know it's a natural fit. So I'm excited that we have that relationship built because these are kids that are in great programs and they've been coached up, and that's why college coaches like to go back because these kids have been, coached up and prepared well.
A school that I'm not too familiar with, Coach, St. Augustine's University sends you a defensive lineman, Kennedy Nelson.
Kennedy, he's a young man that, Coach Amir does a really good job, recruiting guys nationally. And here, in order to compete, what people are starting to realize, we recruit nationally here, okay? We have to, when you think about the GLIAC, you think about, the powerhouses and winning at a large scale, national championships. You take a look at their rosters. They recruit nationally as well. Well, we have to in order to compete. We have to be able to go out and compete against, those powerhouses and get, guys that can play and prepared to play in those big games. So getting him here, Amir's done a great job. He's a good young man. He's going to come in and he's going to help us take our game to another level.
A young man that we've certainly familiar with, saw him compete against us at Saginaw Valley State. In fact, he was a GLIAC Player of the Week last week, yeah. And you're excited to have quarterback Michael Aoro join you now.
This is a good story here because here's a guy right now that I'm just going to tell you he's a good football player. He's a really good football player, and he made, Player of the Week the week after they played us, and they had a young man that started in that game for him, and they decided that, they were going to go in different directions, both parties, but all of a sudden we see a young man there that's giving teams fits in the GLIAC. And I coach the quarterbacks, just seeing him from a distance. I was looking at this young man play. I said, wow, he could throw it, he can run it. And now that we've been able to see him, sit down with him, he's extremely smart. Okay, this here was a guy that he went into the portal. He had other opportunities, other options to go and play, actually Division I as well. So getting him here, that's been big. That's been big for us because when you lose a player of Jason, Whitaker, it's hard to replace, someone like that. Now, we've dipped into that portal, and now our offense will even open up even more because we got guys here in our program that are more dual threat type of quarterbacks, okay? And so I'm excited. I'm excited about, continuing to work with these guys and getting those guys prepared for a big year.
You mentioned Michael Aoro coming in at quarterback as well as Matthys. I heard coaches at all levels talk about the challenges now, with the transfer portal, that when you bring these players in, yeah, it's exciting and good, but then you have to keep the other players in that position group you got to keep them feeling they're part of the program, and that's a big challenge, isn't it?
It's always a challenge, but the type of athletes that we go after, before anyone signs on that dotted line, there's there's the courting part, the evaluation of them and their character and who they are. And our goal here is to go and get guys that want to compete, but also we want guys that are team players. Okay, be team players and compete all the time. We do a lot of things here on the off season to put these guys into competitive situations, and just knowing that you have those type of individuals throughout your roster. Okay, because I've got some young men here that have played well, leading up to this point, and those guys know, hey, competition is competition. Who's going to be the best, and those in that quarterback room that we have now, this is probably the deepest quarterback room I've had since I've been at DU. Okay, and as a head coach, that's what you want, because Rick, last time I checked, we went through 3 years ago, 6 quarterbacks.
Yeah, 3 of them in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was 2 of them in pregame.
Yeah.
So you never know what can happen, and. With that being said, my hat goes off to my guys, because my guys are working really hard. They're competing, and they're becoming friends, and that's what you want to see. The best guy wants to play. The best guy will play, shall I say. And all these kids want to get on the field and obviously play, and we do enough that these guys see who's pretty good.
Young man from Grand Rapids Christian High School, I believe, offensive lineman Adam Sargent went to Wayne State University, but you had your eye on him when he was at Christian High, right?
Yeah, we lost out on him in a heated recruiting battle, with Wayne, and they did a good job of recruiting him, and familiar with the family, and we lost him in that recruiting battle. They did a good job of recruiting him, and he went over there, and he's actually played very solid. He was one of their starters, and the opportunity, gave himself an opportunity when mom and dad is back here, and they had a coaching change, and he wanted to get closer to home. So having that opportunity there is big, because we lost the starting tackle, and he's already got some starts under his belt. So I go way back with Sarjo, because a guy by the name of Reuben Riley, that's their head coach over at Christian. I've got a relationship obviously there, so I've been seeing this young man for some time, and we're really excited about bringing him home and having him play.
Another school I'm not very familiar with, Coach, American River College. You got a young man out of Rockland, California, defensive back Dominic Spence.
He's another young man that we've been chasing for some time, and he actually came out the year before, but we got him now, and we are excited about him coming here and playing. And our DB coach has done a really good job with those guys. Last year, we replaced the entire secondary. And all of a sudden, we've got all these all-conference kids back in there return, and now we just added depth to that group, And so just like our quarterback room, I think our secondary rivals it as far as its depth and competition.
Another young man, a local young man from Rockford, who went the MIAA route first with Hope College, just as Jacob Fetro did. But you've got wide receiver Brody Thompson now in.
Brody, I don't know if you remember this, but Brody, he committed to us for, maybe a day or two, and then all of a sudden he made a decision that he wanted to go play over at Hope. And I was excited for him, because I know the guy that was going to coach him up, and I hated to lose him, because we really worked hard on recruiting him, and he wanted to give himself a chance to get on the field right away as a true freshman, and he actually did, get on the field, and ended up having an injury. But next thing you know, he wanted to play up a level. So we got a phone call, and we obviously remembered him quite well when we recruited him, and it was just a natural fit. He wants to play up a level where he's back at home. Why not give him an opportunity to prove himself?
You got a guy with Big Ten experience, not just on a roster, but actually on the field from Agora Hills, California, Justin White, who was at Michigan State.
Yeah, he's got some starts there. I think his latest start was against Ohio State, and this is a young man that we've had our eye on for some time, and he's going to once again step into that secondary and in a very competitive situation there, because some of the teams on our schedule, they're going to be throwing the ball around quite a bit, and you need someone back there that can quarterback that secondary. Now, let me tell you, this may be one of the best leaders that we've had in our secondary in some time. So between him and Cam, the additions of and Dom, the additions of those young men, this is the deepest secondary we've ever had. These guys can run. They can run, and I'm excited about our home home fans seeing these guys getting our secondary and control the airways.
Boy, again, you've got a terrific all-conference performer coming in from Wayne State University, running back Kendall Williams, and you've got some options with him.
Wow, this one here was the most explosive back outside of, Mr. Harris here, for us. When I say explosive, I'm talking 4.4 speed. He came down to a situation where he really wants to give himself a shot to play at the highest level, and it would be playing at the highest level as a receiver, and already his speed, it's when you see a fast guy, a fast guy, and he's going to bring that extra element to us in the as a receiver, in our backfield. I have a lovely backfield here with Harden, the Beef, your favorite, and then Mr. Back himself of the GLIAC, Myron Harris. So we're excited about our future here in the offensive backfield and our slots. And, once again, when you add a talent with that type of speed and quickness, you're going to give your quarterback some options.
You mentioned Myron Harris, by the way, Coach. I don't know. He's been putting on some shooting exhibitions at halftime of our basketball games, going out there, knocking down 25 and 30-footers consistently. He's quite an athlete.
Yeah, he's pretty talented. We have a basketball league that we play here, and he's leading his team right now. He's doing a heck of a job. He's talented, and we love Myron. He's done a really good job, and he spoke very highly of his buddies that all came over from Wayne State. He gives them, he's a character check, for the reference, so he's done one heck of a job. We love him here at DU.